Hey, today we're going to be creating a Superman game in OBS by using a language that I created called 4S. This language is used for animations, but you can actually do a lot of things with it. So here's a showcase on how to create a Superman game. Create some global variables. isMovingLeft. Set it to 0. isMovingRight, and then isMovingUp 0. So the gvar is a keyword that allows you to create global variables. That's why I'm using the gvar here, basically to just tell the engine to create global variables, so that way we could use them for movements later on. Now we're going to create hotkeys for when the player is pressing them. Okay, so we need a EndLeft command. Oh yeah, that one. And then we're gonna need another one, EndLeft. So after that, go ahead and do this, onpress. So we're gonna add another one. We'll call this one right. We have a couple more for the other movements. I'm so slow sometimes. This one's going to be InitUp. One more. Alright, now we're going to create when the player is not, like, let's say, moving, like the player is not pressing anything. We want to make the hero hover, basically, so it looks like the hero is hovering instead of just staying in one place. We're going to set this to 0 by default, meaning it's not active. And then over here we're going to create a hover loop. Okay, so hover loop is going to be in a different thread, so that way it doesn't block the main thread. And I'm going to call this hover, just like that. Of course, we're going to use a wait here because this is a loop, so you always need to make sure you have a wait to make sure it doesn't block the whole program like OBS, because if you don't have a wait command, it will actually block everything. So we're going to say if it's moving is equal 1, then we're going to need to tell it to re-execute the hover command again. But if that's not the case, it will move on to the next command, which is just moving the hero up and down, like having an hovering effect. Here we're going to be using the guide, or I think interrupt guide, which terminates an execution if the value changes, basically. Gonna need to increase it by 20. We're gonna use 600 milliseconds, so that way it looks like it's actually hovering. So very slowly. Oh yeah, one more thing I forgot to add here. We need to also add a fallback if it does change. So in this case, when it changes, we just want it to jump back to the hover, so that way it checks the condition again, which is this one up here. I'm gonna add another one for moving down. So the plus moves down, and then now we need minus, which is just gonna move it back up to the same position that it previously was. minus 20, 600 milliseconds, and we're good. All right. After that, we just go ahead and wait. Right, I think we have to put wait over here. Yeah. I don't think so. We're gonna see if it works without it there. We'll put it over here though. I mean, we don't have to because we already have it up there, so we just tell it to jump back to the hover command, the hover loop, and we're done. So the reason why this is a loop is because I'm using the jump command to actually tell it to re-execute the label again. So that's why it's a loop, and that's why you have to have a wait command up here, so that way it doesn't, you know, stall the whole application. In this case, this code is going to be executing in OBS. So yeah, I'll tell you guys more about that. But yeah, okay, so we're done with the hovering effect, the hover hero effect. So this hover loop will only execute if the moving is set to 0 basically, but if it's not 0, it will not execute this hovering effect, and it will instead execute the movement that the user is pressing the hotkeys for, I guess. So to work with those, we're going to create another label here. Oh yeah, one more thing we need to do here is to tell the whole program to like go to an idle state, so that way it doesn't execute the code below, which is going to be the movement code. So I'm going to create InitLeft. Okay, so InitLeft, how will this work? I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, we need to change the state. So in this case, we're going to be changing. Wait, how do we change the state? I think we need to put it like in the movement itself. Yeah. Okay, so first we're gonna change the isMovingLeft to 1 up here, and then we're gonna create the main execution, like the main loop of moving the player to the left side. So this will be move. I'll call it move left. That's nice, spell left. There we go. All right. So moving left. The way this is going to work is going to check the isMovingLeft is equal to 1. I mean, it's equal to 0. So if it's 0, that means we need to stop the execution. So we're just going to tell it to go back to the idle state, and we're done. But if it's moving left is set to 1, which is basically going to be if the initial left is executed, then we need to move the player to the left. So let's see, how do we do that? Oh yeah, one more thing we also need here is modifying the variable of isMoving to 1, because now the player is actually going to be moving, and then we're going to go ahead and move the player to the left side, which is going to be minus 10 pixels. So we're moving the player by 10 pixels every 16 milliseconds. Oh yeah, we also need a linear easing here style. Easing style. Okay, let's see. After that, we just use a wait command, and then we jump right back to the move left once more, because this is going to be a loop. The loop is only going to stop when the user let goes of the button they're pressing, basically. And yeah, just like that. I think we're done with that one. Yeah, now we need one more label that goes with it, which is going to be EndLeft. This is going to be where the user let goes of the button or the key, which is going to go ahead and reset the isMovingLeft to 0. I think we also need to reset the other value to 0 as well. So we'll do that, and then we'll also go ahead and reset the isMoving to also 0, because now we're basically not moving. I think we also need to return that as well. So here we're also going to do return. I think we also need to return over here as well. No, not here, but like right here. I don't think if it's needed because this somewhat creates its own label. I don't know, maybe it might crash. It might crash some stuff. Maybe this might not work at the first execution, first run. Let's see. Idle state returns here, so that means this one probably would break, but I don't think so. Hopefully not. Okay, let's see, what else are we missing here? So those are the movement for moving left. Now we need movement for moving right. I'm just gonna copy and paste the code here. Just add some comment. Move right. Right is moving right, and also rename this one to right, and change this one to right, and then call this one, and change this one as well. Of course, we also need to change the minus to plus because now we're moving to the right side instead. So hopefully that looks like it's. Let's see, make sure everything's good here. Right, idle. Okay, I think it looks. Oh, this one's over here. Right, and yep. All right, let's add the next one. Is going to be move down. So moving down for this one, InitDown. This one moving down. This one down as well. So I'm just modifying some of the call here. Labels name, so that way this works right. Okay. Oh, let's see. I think I have everything right here. Yeah, seems like it's good. All right, one more. We'll have move up. Because we already have down, now we have to initialize the up state. Seems like we're good here. Okay. And then, so this is also this is working with y value, not x, y property for the movement. Because we're moving down, so I think this is going to be plus, right? Yeah, plus for moving down. And then for moving up, will be minus for y property. Okay, so moving up, change this one as well to move up. And this one. Alright, I think we are set for the movements. All right. Oh yeah, one more label we need to add here. It's going to be the idle state, the idle label that we're going to be using a lot of times for like idle states. So the idle label will just return, do nothing. Yep, that's it. Okay. Yeah, I think this is all we need to actually create a flying superhero in OBS. Alright guys, here I am. So yeah, this is the showcase of what we just coded together. And you can see right here I have my my hero image that I'm going to be using for the flying man. So you can see nothing's happening currently. That's because I have to click execute for this to actually start moving. So I'm going to click execute, and you can see the player is actually hovering right now. Nothing's going to happen when I press the button, because for that to work we actually have to go to the hotkeys settings for us to be able to actually set the hotkeys. So we have the move left, the right, and the up and the down. I'm going to apply it, and now we should be able to move the player around just like that. Very simple showcase right here. Very simple flying man script, and yeah, you can move him around, fly him all the way up, and then fly him all the way back down. That's a flying man for you guys. And if you guys want to try this out for yourself, like I said, you can do this with this 4S engine, which is created for animating sources in OBS. And yeah, I'll put like GitHub and link down in the description for you guys to like learn more about the script and how to code it yourself as well. I'll also go ahead and showcase, read through with you guys what the script is doing in the background. Alright, here we are. So this is the code that we just wrote together. And yeah, the first line is using this command called source, which is used for setting a target source that you want to work with, like the one that you want to modify, the position, you know, everything about it. By using source and then the name of the source that you want to modify, by putting it there, you actually tell the program that you are setting the source you want to work with. In this case, that would be something like the move command when I'm using it right here. That would actually require you to actually have a source for you to actually be able to work with the move command. You have to make sure you have a source set for it. And the source, the line pipe right here is a line, is a pipe, line, what is it called? Line argument? Yeah, line argument. Arguments operator, that's what it's called. Arguments operator is the pipe that you see right here. That is called an arguments operator after the command. Then that's where you put the source name. And of course, this is called a line terminator. That means whenever you're done with a line, you always need to make sure when you have a line terminator to tell the program to move on to the next line. Because if you don't have it, it will actually break everything. So make sure you always have this line terminator at the end of your code for, you know, to get the result that you're expecting, I guess. And yeah, this section is just creating global variables for like the movement, moving left, moving right, moving up, and moving down. And we also have isMoving, which is used for hovering effect. In this case, the way a hovering effect works is that it checks if the moving is set to 1. If it is 1, that means the player is moving, so we're not gonna execute the hover effect. So yeah, that's how that works. And of course, the hotkeys, this is where we register the hotkeys. And the way this works is it takes the first argument is the name of the hotkey, like what you want the user to see. The second argument is the press, when the user presses the hotkey. And the third argument is when the user let goes of the hotkey, which is EndLeft. So in this case, it tells it to stop moving, basically. And then the first one tells it to start moving. So yeah. Okay, so that's how the hotkeys work. And of course, like I said, this is the hover loop effect. So I've already explained it, what it does, but I didn't explain what this line does. So this code here is a special syntax that you can use when you're working with blocking loops. So blocking loops are loops that block like the current thread you're working with. So in this case, the move command is actually a blocking command, which basically halts everything, and then it makes the whole program actually wait until it's done with the command that it's executing. By adding this this special syntax, which is called guard interrupt guard, this basically tells the move command that when the value changes, in this case the value here we're watching is called isMoving, so it tells it when it changes we want you to stop moving and then execute the jump command for hover. So basically it says, okay, when we see this value changes, we are going to stop the movement and we're just going to ignore everything after this line and just go back up here. So that's what this interrupt guard does. And you can see here I also have it for this one too. So you can also use interrupt guard for wait, because wait is also a blocking command, because it actually makes the whole thing wait until it's done with the waiting, basically. By using the special guard, this interrupt guard, you're basically bypassing it by telling if something changes, then just stop, just abort, basically. It's like an abort command for for commands that are actually blocking threads. So that's why I have it here. That's because when the user does interact, like when the user does press the button, then we actually need to stop the hovering, because that would look like, it wouldn't look good when we don't have it. So I'll show you guys an example of that. But if I remove this, right, if I go ahead and remove it, just save the code. I'm gonna go ahead and open OBS again, show you guys an example. Alright, here we are. Let's go ahead and execute the code again. Okay, so now you can see it's hovering, but if I press the button, you'll notice there's like delay. That's because the loop is actually waiting. It's not waiting for the thing to actually stop moving. And then once it stops moving, I can go ahead and move it around. So yeah, that's why it's always good to make sure you have the interrupt guard to, if you're working with like blocking commands. It's always required to, well, not required, but recommended to use it, because it would, you know, make this, look at this, I can't even move. I'm actually pressing the up button right now, but I can't. That's because the movements, the hover effect is actually executing right now, so it's just blocking me from like moving this player, which it shouldn't actually do that. I don't know why it's actually blocking me from that. That shouldn't be happening. But the reason why it's blocking is because the command, the move command, is basically, they're now actually fighting. Oh, there we go, look at that. Oh, never mind, no, it's not. So yeah, but I could still move, like, you know, left and right, all good. But you can see when I'm moving the left and right movement, you can also see the player's actually floating up and down, and then it stops because the moving is set to 1 basically. But yeah, that is why we have interrupt guard. That's why we have interrupt guard. And yeah, it's used for basically those kind of situations where you want to make sure when something is happening, when a variable changes, and this change was caused by, you know, some other, wait, is it here? No, it's not here. I don't know why I was adding that here. Where is the hover effect? Right here. Okay, so yeah, isMoving. So in this case, we're saying isMoving changes. Whenever isMoving changes, then we want you to abort this command and then move on, go back to the hover label. In this case here, you can put any kind of label that you have, but because I'm working with the hover effect, that's why I'm telling it to just go back there and stop this command. That's basically all it does, is that. Yeah, thanks for watching. Like I said, if you guys want to watch, if you guys want to learn more about this programming language, I'll put the links down in the description about how to code in it and how to create your own animations and also create your own mini games. This is just an example of a flying man, but you could actually add more onto this. Like, I don't know, maybe add like dashing effects if you want to. Like whenever you double press the hotkey, you could add a dash effect where the hero, instead of just moving to the right or left, it like dashes to that position basically very quick. So you could do that kind of thing. You could also advance it, adding like, you know, stuff falling from the sky and the hero has to like dodge them, so that way he doesn't get hit by them. But yeah, that's just a example. This is just an example just to show you guys that you could actually do this kind of thing with this engine, and it's really powerful if you know what you're doing. If you guys want to learn more about it, I'll put the link in the description for my GitHub, where I have like documentation on how to use it and what it does. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.